You're now listening to the You Run podcast.
True crime. This podcast is unique. Heather, tell them why.
You choose the cases. You share your opinion. And I hit you with mine.
He got an easier death than he deserved.
Gacy was the first Illinois prisoner executed against his will.
An eyewitness later described Bundy's last moments of life.
He made reference to his loved ones and to his family when he was saying his last words.
A serial killer comes about by circumstances and
This is the You Run podcast. This is the only true crime podcast where we put you in control. You become part of our team as me and Heather take you through the cases that you have chosen. This is not our show. This is your true crime.
That bitch is cray-cray. She's real crazy.
Hello, welcome to the You Run podcast. My name is Scott.
And I'm Heather.
And you're listening to the only true crime podcast completely run and controlled by you, the listeners. It's our Halloween special. Happy Halloween, everyone.
Happy Halloween.
This is the first of 2 episodes that we're going to bring you in the next couple of weeks. Today, you're going to get the full case. And on the 15th of November, you're going to get extended cut where we dive into the stranger elements of the case, all sorts of weird and wonderful bits. And we also cover lots of different places where you can get extra information on the case if you need it.
Yes.
There's lots of ways you can get involved. You can follow us on social media. We're at You Run Podcast, absolutely everywhere. That's Facebook, Instagram, TikTok. Where else are we? Twitter.
Yes,
Discord
Twitter.
servers. Twitter, yeah. You can when you do that, you can vote in polls and decide what cases we cover. Give your facts and theories and questions that I will ask you. If you want to go one step further, you can call the show and you can get your voice heard on the air. You can give an opinion on a case, ask for a case. You can just say hi to me and Heather. Tell us what you're doing today.
Yeah.
Let
us know.
Yeah, we'll play that on the air and we'll respond to any of your messages however we deem fit.
Yeah, it depends on the context of what message you sent and what day it is and how I feel.
Yeah,
okay, thank you.
Exactly that. You can send messages either on our website, which is yourunpodcast.com. Click on where it says true crime and it says record as a voicemail. It's really simple. Or on Instagram, you can record a voice message DM and send that to me, and that'll also get you on the air as well. It's been a long time since we recorded true crime together. So we done the smiley face killers last time.
We did.
But there's been a big break since then and now.
We have these big breaks and it's like we're just going apart in our relationship, but we're coming back together because this is probably going to be my favorite so far, my personal favorite case to cover. Just saying. This
case is definitely, well, this case is the most requested case we've ever had. So from episode 1, I had people messaging asking for this, and demanding it, and you being one of those people.
Yes, of course.
So before you were even co-host, you're like, do this case.
But because it's such a high profile case that I know lots of people that even if they don't like true crime, they're going to get into it. They're going to be like, oh, I know about that.
Yeah.
You'll be surprised at how much they actually know. Yeah.
And it's one of those cases that just encapsulates the mind and just draws you in. And today we're looking at arguably the most recognizable serial killer in all of history, Jeffrey Dahmer.
Milwaukee police found body parts in a North Side apartment, and now they wonder if they've uncovered some kind of death factory.
From our investigation, we feel that this individual strongly is involved in other homicides.
A 31-year-old man was arrested at that apartment. The Milwaukee County Medical Examiner will release more details on this case this morning at 10 o'clock.
The suspect may well have been involved in at least 17 homicides.
Authorities here are wondering how anyone could have committed these gruesome acts. Police today said the victim reported only a robbery, not an assault. They did question Dahmer about the incident, but were satisfied with his explanation.
The suspected mass killer, Jeffrey Dahmer, was formally charged late today with 4 counts of first-degree homicide. Prosecutors said they expect to bring more charges against the man.
The prosecutors of this case have expanded their investigation to include the last 10 years of Dahmer's life. They are suggesting the killings went on undetected despite warnings.
The document states that Dahmer had sex with 3 of the 4 victims he's charged with killing, and it mentions cannibalism, saying that he dismembered his victims and saved one of them to eat.
So, unless you've been living under a rock for the past 3 months, you will have been heavily exposed on the news, social media, and pretty much everywhere else to Jeffrey Dahmer content. This is due to the Netflix series, Dahmer, and then obviously the Netflix documentary, the Dahmer tapes, that come about 2 weeks after. With this absolute saturation of Dahmer content, me and Heather wanted to be able to work out how to stand out in this, and we decided the best way to do that is do what we do best, to just give you the facts as they are. Unlike the last episode where me and Heather just gave you the myth, we're actually giving you facts this time.
We're not even going to get into that again. I don't want to relive that case. Thank you. Bye.
We're not just going to give you the facts of what happened between 1978 and 1991, but we're going to go all the way back to May 1960 when Dahmer was born, and we're going to take you right through cradle to grave for when he died in 1994. This is the main episode where we're going to cover all of that, and then on extended cut we're going to cover everything else because there's a lot.
We'll have lots of fun facts because there's a lot of crazy shit for you guys in extended cuts, so stick around for that.
Yeah, and a song?
What is it? A song? Oh, yeah. Oh, shit. I actually wrote something out.
Okay,
so,
that's good.
Like, you caught me off guard for a second because I was like, wait a minute, you want me to do it now?
No.
No. It's for extended cut, you motherfuckers. Y'all gotta wait. It's good.
Because after this case, I'm going to need a song to cheer me up because this case is rough.
I mean, I kind of cheated a little bit, but like, it's really funny because I'm good at like redoing lyrics for popular songs.
Okay, don't spoil it.
Yeah.
Don't spoil it.
No, nothing else.
Okay. Jeffrey Dahmer was born in 1961, and he was the first of 2 sons to Joyce Flint and Lionel Dahmer. His dad, Lionel, was a university student studying chemistry, and this kept him away from the home for quite long periods of time, leaving Dahmer at home with his mum. There's lots of conflicting reports on his mum, but one thing that is known for definite is she behaved in a very strange manner. She was very tense. She'd argue a lot with Lionel and also with her neighbours and school teachers and pretty much anyone she come across. She was quite a confrontational person. She craved attention all the time and even had a suicide attempt or 2 to try and garner more of Lionel's time and get him back from his studies. This beautiful home dynamic left Jeffrey Dahmer alone quite a lot.
It did.
And it's quite a sad thing. I mean, Jeff Dahmer said to himself that he remembers him when he was a child, wanting a stable home like other kids. And that's sad.
Yeah. And also, we haven't gotten to this yet. You know, he did have a little brother, David. And I feel like that was part of the issue too. Not only was he left alone, but he was not getting the attention that his little brother got. It's like his mom was sort of like, fuck you, whatever. But she seemed to really love and crave her younger son.
Yeah, it's a horrible situation for Dahmer. I mean, he was an energetic child. He was a really boisterous young child from everything I've read, and that all changed when he had a double hernia operation just for his 4th birthday. And teachers after that noted him to be really quiet and timid. He was went into himself, just sort of spent time alone.
Yeah.
In 1996, the family moved, and Joyce gave birth to his younger brother, who Dahmer actually named and called him David. So it was Dahmer who named his younger brother. It was also the same year that his dad earned his degree and started working as an analytical chemist. So in 1996, he had his entire life upheaved and moved. Everything changed in an instant.
Yeah, absolutely.
New brother, new town. His dad was home all the time. Everything just, that's a big impact on a kid.
I think, it is, because people go into thinking about serial killers and they're just like, oh, well, you know, my theory, like, I believe that people can be born evil. They're just prerequisite to sorry, that's just the way that your life's going to end up. Or it's environmental factors and your nature versus nurture.
Yeah.
How you're raised affects what kind of an adult you're going to be. Not for everybody. You could be treated badly or abused, and you're one of the lucky few that gets out of it, and you don't have the repercussions of that. But for Jeffrey, that was, in my opinion, that is not what happened to him.
No, I don't think it was either.
Mm-mm.
And there was some strange behaviours that were spotted first by his dad. So he had a fascination with dead animals, and dead animals' bones in particular. He'd spend time searching around the property for them. And he had a little collection of them that he used to refer to as his fiddlesticks.
Yep. My grandmother used to say that. Well, I say used to. She's still alive and still says that. And I'm like, is that your way of saying fuck? But she uses it in a weird context. She'll be like, oh, fiddlesticks. And I'm like, Ma'am, I'll just say fuck. But she don't talk like that. So she ain't saying that.
When he was 10, he started showing an interest in science, and his dad was quite excited about this. So he asked his dad what would happen if he put a chicken carcass in bleach. If that was me and my kid asked that, I'd be like, what the fuck is going on in your head?
I feel like it wasn't portrayed as being too odd because Jeffrey's dad was a chemist.
Yeah.
And it was one of those like, oh, we have something in common now.
Yeah.
It's science. So for him, he didn't know the psychological shit that was going through Jeffrey's mind.
No, he really didn't. And he then taught him how to preserve animal bones. And comments from both of them said that this is the most quality time they spent together. They were skinning animals, removing flesh, boiling bones, that was their quality time. Most people go fishing or hunting or bowling or whatever. They skinned animals and boiled bones, which
sounds odd when you say it like that, but in that perspective, Lionel didn't think it was odd. He's like, I'm just showing him how nature works. Like, this is the decomposition of this, and I'm just showing him stuff. It's not a weird thing. Us as parents now, if our sons or daughter, came up to us, I'd be like, yeah, that's going to be a no for me, dog. And I'm sleeping with a knife under my pillow. Like, what's going on? Like, do we need to talk? Do you need Jesus? Is something happening? So, I mean, that's because we weren't raised in that culture. And this was like, what, 70s at the time-ish? Yeah. So, totally. Yeah.
So it was in 1975, one of Dahmer's friends said that he remembers Dahmer decapitated a dog and pinned it to a tree. And then went and got his friend to show his friend, and then claimed he found
put the head on the stick or something too. He did that as well. Like, it was just like, oh, look what I did. Look what I could do. Like, seriously.
Yeah. And it was around this time that his mum, understandably so, increased her intake of prescription medication, which made the link between her and the family pretty much non-existent. She was just spaced out to fuck all the time.
She had some mental issues. That were, let me just say this, because I'm not going to ruin a lot of fun facts, because I want to save those for our extended cut for everybody to listen to. But it was noted, she did take tons of medication, and while she was pregnant with Jeffrey, up to 27 pills a day. So can you imagine? Now these were things like growth hormones and antidepressants, anti-anxiety, 27 pills a day. And you're growing a child inside of your body. And me being pregnant now, just knowing common sense, like, you can't even drink alcohol. Like, you can't even take, like, Tylenol can sometimes be bad.
Yeah.
27 pills a day she was taking while pregnant with Jeffrey.
Just the mind boggles.
Like, what the fuck do you take? Who the fuck takes 27 pills a day? And what the fuck else can you take?
Exactly that.
It's insane. It's insane.
By the time Dahmer reached high school, he was drinking heavily. He was 14 at this point. He was an outcast. Even though he was an outcast, he was a keen tennis player. His grades were average. And besides the drinking in class, teachers were happy with his progress as general. Could you imagine if a child at 14 was drinking in class now?
I'm want to know how the fuck he got away with it, because like, I've watched pretty much every documentary and I think every movie made for him. And I'm like, he's just drinking a fucking beer in the back of class and I'm sure he got scolded on it, but it wasn't like a big deal. But he was so young and already basically, I think he had become an alcoholic at like 13, 14 years of age.
Yeah,
it's
and
crazy.
By the time he was 16, he was drinking hard liquor in class. So he was drinking bottles of Jack Daniels,
whiskey and stuff. Yeah, exactly. So like, even when I'm not pregnant, I can't tolerate hard liquor that well. Like I can drink it. No, but like, look, a good margarita, don't get me wrong. Like, hell yeah. But wine, that's why I switched as an adult drinking wine so much. It's different drunk, y'all.
Yeah.
I could drink like 2 bottles of it and be like, night, night. But don't give me whiskey.
And if you go back and listen to some of our earlier episodes, you will have heard Hannah when she's been drinking 2 bottles of wine.
Or go back and listen to some of my old podcast episodes. I did the other day, and I was like, I want to delete all of these. What the fuck?
No, you can't delete those. There's some absolute.
I'm not.
The Maniac episode that me and Mark were on. We were all.
I love
drunk.
That was our last one together. Yeah, that was a great one.
Dahmer had a reputation as a class clown. And he'd at this point he'd realised that he had gay tendencies and he had a fascination with men and he wanted to dominate a man. He admitted that he once hid at 16 with a baseball bat, planning on fulfilling his fantasy with a jogger that he'd seen jog past. That day, the jogger didn't go past, so Dahmer went home. That's terrifying that he'd already planned to do it at 16 and didn't, because the opportunity didn't arise. But he was a class clown. He used to do things like he'd imitate seizures or he'd pretend to have cerebral palsy. And he used to do this.
He would do like, okay, you guys, this is an audio only media. Like, I get that. I'm so sorry. I can't even talk. But like, Scott can see what I just did. Like, he would legit make these like, okay, how do we say this and be politically correct? I don't want to say, I hate the R word, and you know what R word I'm talking about.
He would pretend to have a mental disability.
Yes, there you go. Thank you. Yeah. Because I hate when people say that, even in context. When we were kids, we said it, whatever. But that is basically what he was pretending to do. And he would gnarl his face up in his fingers, and it was odd. It wasn't funny.
But he would do this as dares, and he'd do it to earn money so he could buy his alcohol. And he'd do it in local shops and just around the town. And everyone kind of knew that this is just what he'd done. And if you wanted to laugh, you'd go and see Dahmer and go, oh, do the thing. I'll give you $5.
Yeah, he was just like, I guess people perceived him. He was just like weird and quirky, but not dangerous. Just like he's an oddball. And there you go.
He was definitely odd, to the point that when people done silly things in school, it was referred to as doing a Dahmer.
Yeah. Well, I've done lots of Dahmers then. Every day I do a Dahmer.
In 1977, he was given a private tutor because his grades were on the slide quite a lot. And Joyce and Lionel started marriage guidance counselling. The sessions failed, and Joyce had a brief affair, and then that was kind of it. In spring 78, Joyce and David moved out, and Lionel had already gone, and he was staying with a girl that he was now seeing, which left Dahmer at 18 completely unattended, unchecked, with no parents, which is absolutely insane to me.
It is insane. I think that like nowadays we wouldn't think it was maybe as crazy because like, I have a child that's almost 20. And so like leaving her, I mean, not abandoning her, but like for her to be 18 and be on her own would not be so crazy to me. But it was in the manner of the way they left him. They did abandon him. They were just like the dad was off with his woman. The mom didn't give a shit. She took David. She took the little brother and left Jeffrey alone. He just had no one.
Yeah, and crazily after that, 3 weeks after his graduation from high school, he committed his first murder.
He did.
So Dahmer picked up a hitchhiker named Stephen Hicks and lured him to his home with the promise of drinking and relaxation. Yep. Dahmer has stated saying that he saw his bare-chested body at the side of the road, and it aroused sexual feelings, and he had to stop. He couldn't stop himself from pulling over.
Mm-hmm.
After they'd been drinking for several hours, Stephen wanted to leave, and this led to Dahmer bludgeoning Stephen with a 10-pound dumbbell.
Yep.
After he knocked him unconscious, he strangled him to death with the bar from the dumbbell.
Mm-hmm.
He then stripped his clothes, rubbed his body, then stood over him and masturbated.
Yep. If you guys, what a scene. Well, see, the guy was actually on his way, from what I'm understanding and from what I've read, I believe he was on his way to a concert, and that was the whole thing. Like he was kicking it with Jeffrey, so to speak. And it was like, hey, but Jeffrey promised he would get him there. He was going to like let it, like, I'll take you, but come hang out with me first. And I don't really know, like, obviously Stephen was not gay.
No.
He didn't want the sexual advances. And so that's why he died. To be honest with you, it was like Jeffrey was like, you're wanting to leave me?
Yeah.
That's why he died.
Yeah. And the following day, he dissected the body and buried the remains in a shallow grave in the garden. Mm-hmm. Several weeks later, he dug the body up again, stripped the flesh from the bones, dissolved the removed flesh in acid before flushing the solution down the toilet. Mm-hmm. The bones he shattered with a sledgehammer and scattered them in the woodlands behind his home. Yeah.
I mean, because it was like, to me, that was his first taste of getting that experiment in, right? What he used to do with his dad, and they would, try to dissolve the bones. And I guess he was trying to make the solution to do that, which I wouldn't know at all how to do that. But that was Stephen Hicks was his first guinea pig, so to speak.
Yeah. And inadvertently, Lionel Dahmer gave Jeffrey the tools to commit the murders.
He did, yeah. But we'll get into that in a little bit. But yeah, like there's some guilt associated with that because of what happens later on in Jeffrey's life.
6 weeks after the murder of Lionel, Lionel returned to the home with his new fiancée and found Dahmer was there alone. After a brief failed attempt at university, Lionel insisted that Dahmer enlisted in the United States Army. And he did. Yeah. And he was a combat medic. He had an unremarkable stint for 3 years. So he was referred to as unremarkable all the way through. He was an average soldier at best.
For sure.
He was honourably discharged. This was down to his drinking. The only reason they decided to honourably discharge him instead of dishonourably discharge him is because they knew if they dishonourably discharged him, he would not get a job in civilian life, and they didn't want to do that to him.
No. Yeah.
When he left the military, he didn't return straight home, which is something that a lot of the documentaries skim over and they miss. So he didn't go straight home. He went off to Miami and he worked in a sandwich shop.
Mm-hmm.
And while he was there, he used to work in the sandwich shop in the day and then go and lay on the beach at night and watch the guys running by. He was quite happy with that.
Yep.
But he struggled for money.
Yeah, they did. I feel like that is like I wouldn't say a fun fact, but that is something for sure that most of the documentaries, probably anything that anybody else has seen, you're not going to know the sandwich shop, that little stint where before he goes to grandma's house. Like you're not going to know that.
No, and he was running out of money and he was struggling to make ends meet. He rang his dad and said, "Look, can I come home?" He moved home. So he moved home and he was arrested for drunken disorderly behaviour within his first week of being back. This caused his stepmother to throw him out, sending him to live with his grandmother.
Yep.
Because it wasn't Lionel who threw him out. It was the
stepmom. Yeah, like I like her character portrayal in the Netflix series, but I'm not sure that she was quite that nice.
No.
In real life.
Yeah, everything I've read of her does not depict her as the caring person. She's very much like, you need to fucking go. Get out.
Well, and I can see that he's an adult man at this point, and you're getting arrested. Again, she didn't want that lifestyle in her home. So I guess I can see that. I can understand.
I get it. I definitely get it. When he moved in with his grandmother, he was the model citizen. And I mean model citizen. He went to church. He helped with chores. He searched day in, day out for employment, which he found. He worked as a blood plasma technician. And he'd done that for 10 months before he was laid off. There is no evidence to say he ever stole or drunk any of the blood from that job.
No, in the Netflix, I know they portray that with him bringing home the little, I don't want to say vials of blood.
Yeah, little sachets of blood.
Like,
that,
like the bags.
Yeah, that didn't happen. That was some artistic license.
That was fabricated for the story, but let's put it this way. It would not be shocking had he done that.
No, it definitely wouldn't. I mean, just before he was laid off, he was charged with indecent exposure in a local park and fined. It's twice he's been arrested and fined in less than a year. When he lost his job, he was unemployed for over 2 years, and he could only live off what his grandmother gave him for doing stuff around the house.
Yes.
So he had no income whatsoever. It wasn't until 1985 he went and got himself another job, and he was a mixer at a chocolate factory.
He was.
Here he was propositioned by a co-worker, leaving a note on his locker asking if he wanted a blowjob. Now, Dahmer didn't act on this, but this is what led him into discovering the gay bars and the bathhouses of the area.
Yes. Yeah.
And that's... Is that a strange thing to have someone put a note on your locker? Do you want a blowjob? I don't.
I'm just gonna say, well, or like you're asking me from a woman's perspective, right? Because, like, I mean,
I think from any perspective, I don't think I would ever leave a note on anyone's locker offering sexual services, and I don't think if I got a note, I don't think I'd respond to it.
No. Okay, this is the thing. Like, we're both in marriages. Like, it's different. Like, if my husband Steven left me a note like that, I'd be like, what? I'd probably still be like, fuck you, like, shut up. But like, yes, and out of context, at your job, if you were going somewhere or on your desk and you found a letter that was like, you want a blowjob later? I think you'd be like, who the fuck wrote this? No, I don't.
Well, I might do, but Harry. Who wrote it first?
Well, I'm just saying, you trying to get killed with a T, because Lisa gonna kill you.
No. Single Scott would have stood up and held the note up and gone, who wrote this?
Right. But look, you can do process of elimination, because if you knew who you worked with, and there weren't very many women, you'd have to think about your answer. Like, I mean, BJ's a BJ. Come on, guys. It's 2022.
Dahmer began to visit the bathhouse, and he began to drug his partners. And the reason he'd done this, because he said he was frustrated that they moved too much. He wanted them to be still.
That's right. He did. And it was because he wanted control of them.
Yeah.
I think it was more than just the fact that they were moving around. It was that he knew if he could put them into a zombie-like state, they would not leave him.
Yeah.
We're gonna really get into that. That was one of the biggest issues with him.
Yeah. Afraid of
feeling abandoned. Yes, exactly. So, like, what would you do? Drug the guy. He can't move. He's not gonna leave you.
Yeah. He got these drugs, believe it or not, on prescription from a doctor. All of them.
I know.
And this is because
shady.
Yeah, he worked. He explained to the doctor he worked awkward shift and he needed to gain control of his sleep patterns. And the doctor's like, "Yeah, there you go."
In the 70s and early 80s, man, they just let you do whatever the fuck you wanted. Like, for real. Why do you think it was the height of the serial killers?
After 12 incidences of bathhouses having to call paramedics after a stay from Dahmer, he had his membership revoked across the board.
It's so weird that you have a membership there. I didn't mean to cut you off, but I'm like, is that like even a thing now? I mean, they probably have whorehouses. That's what my grandma calls them. I love my grandma. She's so crazy. But like a bathhouse, I get what it is, but I just am like, how do you do that nowadays? Like, would that be a thing? Maybe they still have them. I don't know.
I don't know. Call in if you frequent a bathhouse. Call in and let us know.
God. But we won't say who you were, because
unless you want to say who you are, you feel free.
I ain't judging you.
Around this time, Dahmer was also arrested and charged for lewd behaviour after he was caught masturbating in front of two 12-year-old boys. again, he was given a 1-year suspended sentence. This is his third time now.
This motherfucker, look, he showed his ding dong to children. That is one thing right there where we start getting to the pedophilic or the pedo vibe of, he wasn't really a pedophile, but I mean, you could constitute him kind of like that. But like, if you showed, like, okay, if you were out in your town and you just whipped your penis out, I'm pretty sure you're going to get in more trouble, but they were just like, oh, it's Jeffrey Dahmer.
Yeah, it's fine. Let be
he showed his dick last week at the fucking church potluck. It's fine.
Yeah, it's like, I just find it so bizarre that
it's bizarre.
He's like bulletproof when he gets in court. He gets in court and they're like, oh no, suspended sentence. And we'll get more into that because that happens more as well.
Yeah, absolutely.
Not being able to use the bathhouses, Dahmer moved to use the Ambassador Hotel as his next place. And this is where he would claim his second victim's life. Stephen Toomey was lured back to the hotel. And Dahmer said he had no intentions of killing him at all. When he awoke, Stephen was dead with bruises all over his chest. Dahmer later confessed that he must have beaten him in a drunken stupor, but has no recollection of it whatsoever.
Yeah. I mean, it's hard for me to make, like, I can't say specifically, like, did he have the intent on killing him? Because I don't want to defend a serial killer. But I will say this, because it's my opinion. I don't think he necessarily was going to kill him.
No, but I think something happened that triggered him.
Exactly, because it had to do a lot with, like, the sexual feeling that he got with it too, because he was sort of a sadist. I would say, like, he liked that. He was into some weird shit.
Yeah, and what he done next is just blew my mind. So what he done next is he went and bought a large suitcase, which he then forced Stephen's body into, and took it back to his grandmother's house. It'd be another week this would live in the basement before he would dismember the body, remove the flesh, and bag it up. He wrapped the bones in a sheet and pounded them to dust and disposed of Stephen's remains, excluding the head, in the trash. Now, the head, Dahmer bleached the skull and used it as a masturbation aid until he deemed it had become too brittle from the bleaching process and smashed that and threw that away as well.
I'm not going to kink shame anybody for any weird shit. Now, obviously, this was beyond kinky.
Yeah, this is
like, you done killed somebody. But, like, if it weren't that you killed him and you just, like, did something else, okay, obviously we would be like, okay, you go, boy, whatever. Yeah. But this is morbid.
It is, and this is where the case for me got really hard to keep going through, because it's like from
it
here
gets
on
worse.
It gets much worse.
Oh yeah.
So he now began to hunt for his victims. The first of these being James I can never pronounce this. Doxteter.
Doxteter. Yeah,
Doxteter.
I don't know. You can pronounce it different ways.
Yeah, I'm going to call him James. So
yeah,
James was only 14 when he met Dahmer outside a gay bar. He was lured back to the house with the prospect of earning £50 for posing for nude photos. Dahmer strangled him, kept his body in the basement for a week before dismembering him and disregarding the remains. No remains were ever found.
Yeah, that's one of the sad. This is to me, one of the most heartbreaking conclusions is they weren't able to find body parts and remains for a lot of these people that died. And that has to be hard as the family member, and you have nothing to bury. What do you bury? Nothing.
Yeah, exactly. And that happened in January of 88. In March of 88, he struck again, this time with Richard Guerrero, who was 22. He drugged and strangled him in his bedroom. He dismembered his corpse in the basement, dissolved the flesh in acid, and disposed of the bones in the trash. He bleached the remaining skull and used that again as a masturbation aid for a couple of months, again before it became too brittle, and he disposed of that again. In this case as well, no remains were ever found.
Yeah, I'm gonna be like, sounding like I have no idea what to say because it's like,
what do you say to that? It's
because you can't imagine that a human can do that to another human. And the fact that he's sexually getting gratified by this, like he is masturbating, he is, what do I say? Coming? Oh, I hate saying that, but that's what he's doing into this. It's this for a normal person. You don't understand it. You can't get to that psyche. No. As much as I love serial killers, Scott, I love this kind of stuff, right? The serial killer, but I can't get mentally, I can never get there. I can't fathom that.
No. And it was in September of this year that Granny had enough of him, and she booted him out. She was fed up with him constantly drinking and fed up of men being brought back to her home. She was a church-going Christian, and she wasn't cool with that. She didn't like it at all. No. He moved out, as she asked, but 2 days later he was arrested for drugging and sexually fondling a 13-year-old boy.
Where he should have stayed, his ass should have stayed in jail for that.
Yeah, but it didn't. He was found guilty and then let out while they sorted out sentencing. Now,
I wish you could see our faces, guys, because seriously, again, U.S. judicial system sucks donkey dick. I'm letting you know.
Yeah, as I said, Dahmer in a courtroom is fucking bulletproof. You cannot touch him.
It's insane.
And this makes it even worse because it was in March of 1989, just before he was sentenced, that he killed Anthony Lee Sears. He was the last victim to be drugged and strangled at his grandmother's house. He's also the first victim who Dahmer permanently kept a body part. He preserved the skull and the genitals, which were found in a filing cabinet in 1991 when he was arrested.
Yeah. It's just sad. Like
had they kept him in custody, this man would still be alive.
No, he would. I feel like quite a few of the murders that happened later on, they would have not happened. No. Most likely because if you go to jail now, you should go to jail. If you were sexually assaulting a 13-year-old child, I don't care if you're a man, a woman, whatever you are, okay? You need to go to jail. Yeah. And your ass needs to be in fucking prison for a long time.
Yeah.
It's fucking bonkers how they're just like, oh, it's Dahmer.
Yeah.
We'll let him out.
It gets even worse because on the 23rd of May, he had his sentencing hearing. He was given a 5-year suspended sentence and 1 year of house correction with work release, which basically means he goes to work every day and then he goes back to a house to sleep in, a locked up house to sleep in. How the fuck is that even a punishment?
I don't know how this was in Wisconsin, Milwaukee area. Okay, so I don't know, each law per state in the U.S., of course, it's not a general thing really, but it's like a per per state, they have different laws for different things. But overall, if I had a 13-year-old child that was hurt in that way, I'm going to be in fucking jail myself if that motherfucker is not in jail.
Oh, I will be 100%.
Because to me, that doesn't matter. He did something, they know what he did, and it's fucking, we can't get into it. There's no way we will ever know why they did what they did.
No, but bad decision, bad decision.
Very much.
On his release, he briefly moved back with his grandmother before he moved into his own place in 1990.
Yes.
And I'm going to pause for a second just to highlight that this man is a monster. And as informative as the Netflix series was, I don't think it managed to fully get across how evil and vile Dahmer really was. I don't think it nailed just how nasty this guy is.
I don't think so either. To be honest with you, the series was chef's kiss. I loved it. It was very emotional, very raw. And I will say that it focused more with the families and the victims. Yeah. And I did appreciate that because they deserve the recognition. I know there was some drama over one case, but anyways, they almost made Jeffrey seem, how do I say this you almost felt bad for him.
Yeah, you did.
That's the best way to describe it. You kind of sort of felt some empathy, like, why do I feel bad for this motherfucker? But you do. You did for a second.
Yeah, and you really shouldn't, because Jeffrey Dahmer
No.
hadn't even unpacked the boxes in his new apartment. He'd been there less than a week when he killed his next victim. He took the life of Raymond Smith, who was a local prostitute. He invited him back with the promise of paid sex. This would be only one of 4 murders that Dahmer would commit in less than 5 months. I'm not going to go through every murder in gory detail because there's no need to. I'm just going to read. I'm going to read these next 4 victims' names and their ages. So you had Raymond Smith, who was 32, Edward Smith, who was 27, and Ernest Miller, who was 22, and finally David Thomas, who was also 22.
Yeah. The age ranges, they did, there were children involved, but then he also, then you have a 32-year-old. So it's just sort of like, I'm not sure that the age had any inkling in his mind. I don't think he cared.
No.
It was more so like, who's available, who's vulnerable.
Yeah.
You just said that our first victim, our other victim, he was a prostitute.
Yeah.
That's going to be about as vulnerable as you can get.
Yeah, I'd agree with that. I'd like to tell you this is the end of Dahmer's crimes, because at this point I was broken in research, but unfortunately we're about to get into his most prolific year of murder and terror. And honestly, if you're struggling to listen to the case, I have so much to deliver in the next bit. Go and make yourself a cup of coffee or something stronger, and then come back and sit down and strap in, because this bit is the absolute worst.
It's gory.
It is. I'm giving the basics on these because I don't want anyone to think that I'm glorifying the murders, because I'm not. No. I'm not going to go through them in great detail. To be fair to the families of the victims who are still alive, I want to just almost brush over this. You need to know it because it's very important that this case is studied and it's talked about and it's discussed. But I just want to skim these.
Yeah.
For a minute.
No, absolutely. It's not something that, we're not going to go into great detail, but also you can get on Google, watch the document. You can find out anything that you're curious to know. It is right there for you. Yeah.
And Dahmer was, I want you to try and get a real understanding of what he was capable what he was capable of doing and how remorseless he could be. So February 2018, February 18th, 1991, not 2018. Yes. He met Curtis Straughter. Say it like that. As he approached Dahmer as he waited for a bus near the university, he lured him back to his apartment where he drugged him, handcuffed him, strangled him before he dismembered him in the bathtub. His skull, hands and genitals were retained. Yeah. April 7th, Elroy Lindsay, 19, the first victim who Dahmer practiced, he later said he practiced his drilling technique, a procedure where he drilled holes into the skull's victims and injected hydrochloric acid into the brain. Mm-hmm. According to Dahmer, Lindsay woke up after this practice and he'd done it again, and then he gave him a drink laced with sedatives. He then strangled him, flayed his body and retained the skin for several weeks. His skull was found following Dahmer's arrest. Yep. May 24th, Tony Anthony Hughes. Hughes was lured to the apartment with a promise of a nude photographic shoot. Hughes was also deaf. He communicated using handwritten notes. He was strangled. His body was left on Dahmer's bedroom floor for 3 days before he was dismembered. Dahmer photographed the dismembering process. His skull was retained and identified for dental records. Okay, I just have to say that I'm going to stop you for a second, Scott, because this one in particular broke me, especially during the series. Yeah, in the series, they depict a romantic relationship. They didn't have a romantic relationship. No. Yeah, they do. They make it seem as if they were dating. That part was not true because he did not date any of these victims. He did not spend any more time with them. He took them back and he immediately basically killed them. But this one hurt my heart. It killed me. This is where I cried while watching the series because I was like,
this is fucking awful, but continue. I'm sorry.
Yeah, no, it's really bad. So that was on May 24th. And bear in mind that he left his body on the floor for 3 days.
Yes.
On May 27th, he struck again. And this was Conrec Synthomophone. Since the Synthomophone.
Yeah, that's a tough one.
Yeah, he's the younger brother of the boy who Dahmer assaulted in 1988.
Mm-hmm.
He was drugged. He had acid injected into his brain. It's just awful. He was left unattended, and when he returned, he discovered he was naked and he was basically in the street, distressed. And this is the one that police were called by residents,
the neighbor.
It
was by the, and I think it was the actual female neighbor that called because she was checking on him because she's like, "There's a kid. It's like a baby. Like he's sitting here on the streets." And they didn't know his head was bleeding, though. They didn't see that.
No,
or I don't think they really paid attention. He said it was something else.
So the police arrived and questioned Dahmer, and Dahmer convinced them that this boy was his boyfriend and he was drunk. And the police took them back up to the apartment where Dahmer took him in. The police said, "Okay, have a lovely night." And then this boy was killed. His head was retained in the freezer and his body was dismembered. June 30th. So we're now talking May 24th to June 30th. It's not a long time. These are quick succession.
Yes.
Matt Turner, who was 20. Dahmer attended the Chicago Pride Parade, and he bumped into Matt. He persuaded him to come for a photo shoot. He was drugged, strangled, dismembered in the bathtub. His head, internal organs were put in the freezer. His torso was placed in a 57-gallon drum, which Dahmer purchased on the 12th of July, which he used to dissolve the body. 5th of July, so we're 6 days later, Jeremiah Weinberg, 23, met Dahmer at a gay bar in Chicago and agreed to come with him to Milwaukee for the weekend. Dahmer drilled his skull, injected boiling water into the cavity. He recalled that Weinberg's death had been exceptional and he was the only victim who died with his eyes open. His body was decapitated and kept in the bathtub for a week before being dismembered. His torso was also placed in the 57-gallon drum. 10 days later, Oliver Lacey, a bodybuilding enthusiast who Dahmer enticed to his house with the promise of money, again for posing for photographs. He was drugged, strangled with a leather strap, being forward decapitated, his head and his heart being placed in the refrigerator. His skeleton was retained and put on one of the sides of the shrine that Dahmer was now in the process of creating. He was arrested shortly after this, but he was in the process of making a shrine to display all of the parts. July 19th, Joseph Bradhoff, 25, was Dahmer's last victim. He was the father of 3 children from Minnesota who was looking for work in Milwaukee at the time. He was left on Dahmer's bed for 2 days following the murder, before on the 21st being decapitated. His head was placed in the refrigerator and the torso in the 57-gallon drum.
Yep. I think he basically decapitated most of his victims because, again, in like certain limbs, because he was trying to keep, he literally had a pot with penises in it. Like, not joking. Like, because he was eating this shit.
Yeah. And it's, that last bit, you're looking 27th of May to 19th of July. He
was just killing them like
5
nothing.
people.
Yeah.
It's, we're going to talk through how Dahmer was cut, and honestly, I thought when I got to this point, I felt relief. I felt investigating this. I felt relief, going, "Oh, thank fuck he stopped. Thank fuck it's over."
Yeah.
I struggled with this case. This is the hardest case we've done since the show began for me.
Yeah.
This was.
I mean, it's understanding. I get it.
Yeah, just reading through and like you read bits and you go, "That can't be true," and then you go and fact check it somewhere else. You're like, "Oh my god."
It's because, like I mentioned, it's hard to believe for us that we don't have those thoughts. It's hard for us to believe that someone can hurt someone like that.
And take pleasure from it as well. That's what makes it so
bad. Sexual pleasure at that. It's not just a gratifying, like, let's say Bundy, right? He just killed to kill. No, it's very bizarre. And Jeffrey, I hate not giving him props, but he is a 1 in a million.
Yeah,
type
he
killer.
is. On the 22nd of July, 1991, Dahmer approached 3 men and offered £100 or $100 for any of them to pose for new photographs.
Yep.
One of these men was Tracy Edwards, who accepted. He went to Dahmer's apartment, where Dahmer made an attempt to handcuff him. It failed, and he only got one handcuff on. And further talking, Tracy was convinced by Dahmer to go in his room, where he noticed a 57-gallon drum in the corner and a terrible smell. And he started questioning Dahmer, and Dahmer kind of was just like brushing it off. And
of course.
He also noticed that The Exorcist 3 was playing on the TV, which that's not a good movie anyway, but we won't get into that.
No, don't get me started on that. I'm gonna talk about it in a little bit, but
no. This is where Tracy was kind of he was trying to get away, and Dahmer brought out a knife. This ordeal went on for several hours, with Tracy trying to convince Dahmer that he was happy to stay in there, happy just chatting, and why don't we go and sit in the front room? We'll have a chat in the front room. Let's go out of the bedroom. I don't want to watch this film anymore. Let's do that. And by this time now, Tracy was handcuffed properly, and they were sat on the sofa. And Tracy noticed that Dahmer was kind of zoning in and out and kind of not with it. And he realised that he wasn't holding the handcuffs anymore. And Tracy done what I think anyone would do. He hit Dahmer as hard as he could, and he ran for his life. At 11:30, he flagged down a patrol car and explained what happened. Officers couldn't get the handcuffs off him because they were a different brand to their own. So they agreed to drive Tracy to the apartment to retrieve the key with him. It didn't take officers long after they'd been in the apartment to make an arrest, finding body parts in the fridge, including a severed head, dissolving bodies in barrels. They found the remains of 11 victims in his apartment. They also found tools of death, including hypodermic needles, drugs, electric drill, and an assortment of blades and saws.
I mean, you caught right then. You done. There ain't no like we're gonna suspend nothing. You don't.
The thing is, those
crazy ass is caught.
Those cops must have been caught so off guard. They were like, "Oh look, this is sad, but it's kind of a little bit funny." You've kind of had a moment with your boyfriend, because that's what they were thinking. You've been handcuffed. You've had a row.
Yeah.
Let's go get the keys for you. And then when they walked in, they must have just gone, "Oh, this is not what we expected."
I will say, okay, so in the series, they portray these two particular cops being complete pieces of shit, right? Because the 13-year-old victim was left to go right back upstairs with Dahmer.
Yeah.
And how do you not know that fucking kid is 13? He's not, he tried to say he was like 19 or something like that. He looked like a baby.
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't want to get into that. I don't want to go on a tangent about the cops. I just feel like the justice system, they did not do these people right at this particular time.
No, they didn't.
At all.
Dahmer was arrested and he was taken back to the police station, where he confessed to everything in great detail and at great length. His interviews totaled over 60 hours.
Yeah, it was no problem. Like, again, if you guys watch any of the documentaries, especially the tapes, he talks just like this. Like, it's no big deal. Yeah. He's so calm.
Really calm.
There's no expression. There's no feeling. There's no emotion. Okay.
And it was at this time he also confessed to eating organs of the victims he murdered in 1990, including that he wouldn't just eat them, he wouldn't just fry them up, he would make meals and he would season them and he would make casseroles and stews. It's like, whoa.
Yeah, because he wanted them to be a part of him. And so that's where the cannibalism aspect came into, because he felt like if I ate them, right? If I ate the guy's heart or whatever body part, oh my God, it would become a part of him.
Yeah.
They would not leave him, but then you think about it in a realistic way, you're like,
they will. Yeah.
They will leave your body.
They will.
Not trying to get dookie surprise on you, but this man was fucked up. That's all I'm going to say.
Conviction for this, funnily enough, was fairly simple. With a full confession, it was fairly straightforward. I say every time trials are long and dull, and I don't do them on this, and I'm not going to this time. It isn't the case. This trial wasn't dull, but it was very emotional. Having no other victims apart from Tracy who could testify. They had statements given by families and friends, and I'll be honest, I just can't face that. We'll add some of that in extended cut, but I'm not doing it.
Yeah, that we'll talk more about the actual family aspect when they got to go into the courtroom, because it broke me in the series again.
Yeah,
and one particular person, I cried.
And even the footage, you can find the raw footage of the courtroom as well.
Yes, and that specific one. Yes, you can.
Even all of them, like one of the dads of the victims spoke, and it just broke me.
It's heartbreaking.
I spent time with tears in my eyes doing this. Dahmer was sentenced to so many life sentences, I'm not even going to list them out. They were just numerous and never ending.
Was it 8 or 9? I think they gave him 8 or 9. Like, because see, the way that they do it in the U.S., or at least we've talked about this, is that let's say that you murdered 4 people, and they can give you a life sentence per each murder, right?
Yeah.
Because it's to ensure that you do not get out. He would have never been able to get out.
No,
and he couldn't get parole.
No, one of his sentences, I don't know which one it was, but one of his sentences was life plus 70 years.
Yeah, exactly. So it makes no sense when you think about it. It's like, because in your mind, you're like, okay, you did kill a total of 17 victims. There were 17 victims. They're not going to give him 17 life sentences, but either way, 1 life sentence should be enough. But that's just not the way that the U.S. handles their stuff.
No, they don't. And it's one of those things that the death penalty wasn't available to the judge, but I am 100% confident if the death penalty was on the table, the judge would have taken it without a second's thought.
He would have, but Scott, also Jeffrey, we know it inevitably, I can't talk at all. We know what happens to him in prison, and we're going to get to that. But even if he was given the death sentence, or the death penalty, I mean, he wouldn't have been executed, most likely. He would have just rotted in jail.
Yeah, and we're getting to that now. So prison life and death of Jeffrey Dahmer. Dahmer was, when he got into prison, he apparently found God. But this didn't stop inmates attacking him. So in 1984, an inmate tried to slit his throat. Dahmer escaped with minor injuries. Mm-hmm. It was in prison where he reconnected with his birth mother. She would call him weekly, along with her. She's got issues, but she would call him weekly. And she said that she was concerned about his well-being and his health. And Dahmer would say, "It doesn't matter now. If something happens to me, it's fine." So I think he knew. He knew from the tone and the way the other prisoners were with him. He knew he didn't have long.
Well, inmate murdering is very common even today in prisons. Like, we've talked about this before. If you're in jail and they gave you 8 life sentences, do you really think it's going to matter if you kill somebody while you're in jail? No. What else more shenanigans are you going to get into? You're fucking toast.
Exactly that. And it was November 1994. He was attacked in the bathroom of the prison while he was left unattended. He was attacked with a metal bar. He survived his attack, but later died in hospital. The inmate who attacked him claimed that Dahmer never fought back. He didn't make a sound. He didn't scream as he beat him. And that's kind of all I got for you up until his death. And don't forget, share it with a friend. Review us where you can. Apple, Spotify. Tag us on social media, TikTok, Facebook, Instagram, wherever. If you want to put some money back into the show, go to our wonderful shop where you can buy True Crime with a Splash of Wine t-shirts. And
True Crime, some shit.
Yeah, definitely buy some stuff. For those of you who follow us week in, week out, and you listen every time we put an episode out, you'll notice that I didn't ask for any of your thoughts on this case. And the reason for that is everyone's going to have pretty much the same opinion.
I feel like they will, for the most part.
Everyone's going to agree that he is a monster. Everyone's going to say that issues led to it. And we kind of know all of that. And this isn't a case, I think, that needs everyone to to chime in on. I don't think it needs that. As tragic and awful as it was, it's not something that needs decoding and pulling apart. It's
You're right.
pretty much an open and shut case with the fullest confession in the history of a serial killer. Nothing was left out. Nothing was hidden. He literally gave everything over.
Yeah, he never tried to recoil. He never lied. He didn't try to smooth the judge. He didn't try to do anything. It was just like, okay, I did all this, and in graphic detail. So if anybody has any other opinions, of course, everybody will and would. So I'm glad we didn't really get into that, because we're going to get a array of, this is my thing. Like, you're going to get a bunch of hate opinions, and I understand that. I get that. Like, he was not a person to love at all. No. But at the same time, it's like, you really got to look into the case, and it was so unnecessary, and it was actually really fucking sad.
Yeah, it was really sad.
Sad for the victims. And there's like this 1% of me that's like, it was sad for Dahmer that his life ended the way it did. Not sad because of what he did. That is sad, but like, I don't feel bad for him. But it's very conflicting, you guys. It's like I said, This is a case I've studied for years, actually. And it always bothers me. It will bother me forever.
Yeah. And it will this case will stay with me for a long time. This is probably this and the Myra Hindley case are the two cases that I contemplated whether I still want to do this. And I thought that many times investigating this. Do I still want to be doing this? But I do.
You can do it. You can do it.
Yeah, I do.
I'm here for you.
I'm fucking glad you are. Heather, sign us off.
Okay, guys. This was a heavy episode. And I've been wanting to throw in like a PSA for you to sort of lighten it up. Also, don't come at my throat or anything. But look, if anyone, male or female, asks you to come back to their place and they're like, hey, you want to take some photos? You want to watch The Exorcist 3? Don't fucking do it. No. You're going to be DED dead, okay? First of all, The Exorcist 3 will kill you alone. Don't do it, you guys. But again, that's my PSA, but I want to be serious for a second. We do appreciate everybody that listens. We love you guys so much. But until next time, stay safe and always stay spooky. Bye.
See you later. Thank you for listening to the You Run podcast. Don't forget, you can get involved in the show in so many ways. All you need to do is head over to yourunpodcast.com.
Yeah, you don't want it to sound like you're literally reading from a script.
Shit, sorry, Heather. That's right, this is your show. It's fun. It's different. It's like nothing else out there. This is your true crime.
This motherfucker.